Well, hello, and welcome to The Eagle's Nest, the audio retelling of the great book by Charlie Supercynski, Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak story. It's the story of ski jumping in the western Upper Peninsula of Michigan with references to other winter activities. And this is episode 30 and probably the final episode of The Eagle's Nest. And we talked to Charlie, asked him to do a epilogue, and he provided us with what you'd call a wrap-up session, just to bring us up to date about what's going on at Copper Peak. And special thanks to Charlie for writing the book to begin with and for providing us with so much information that if we ever want to know anything about ski jumping anywhere in the United States, or especially in the Upper Peninsula and in our area, he's got it in the book. It's a tremendous work of research and history. And before we forget, our thanks go out to Bud Johnson, who is the IT guy and the technical producer for this whole series of The Eagle's Nest, and especially for helping the video issues like the old pictures, photographs, programs, and newspaper clippings that you'll see on the YouTube versions of our episodes. These are all worked on by Bud, and for all the help in solving the technical glitches as well and his troubleshooting. So now we're talking about the new Copper Peak. The 2012 Copper Peak Board of Directors set on a course to reestablish ski jumping at Copper Peak. They had recently constructed a 1-acre water collection pond just north of the hill and built a small pump house adjacent to the pond. At the top of the hill, a smaller 30,000-gallon distribution pond and pump house were built. Water would be pumped from the lower pond to the upper pond and then pumped to both the tower and landing slope for the purpose of snowmaking. Appropriate equipment for snowmaking was purchased, including a 25-horsepower pump for the lower pond, a 40-horsepower vertical turbine pump for the upper pond, 4-inch pipe elbows, and assorted valves. 4-inch plastic pipe was installed from the lower pond to hilltop distribution pond. It was the intent of the board to drive the system with a portable 125-horsepower, 440-volt three-phase generator. Additionally, the board built a 2-story warming and skier work building. Nearly $250,000 was expended for these improvements. A gift of $80,000 from the estate of Keith Anderson offsets some of the costs of this project. An upgraded hill profile was received from FIS, which would require some changes and additions to the tower structure, a reprofile of the landing slopes, and the installation of a safety fence along both sides of the landing. The construction of a new judges' stand downhill from the existing stand would be required by FIS. In order to find the financial resources to complete these projects, the board undertook a feasibility study to see whether or not sufficient funding could be raised. This initial study yielded a positive response, so the board hired an individual to manage the fundraising efforts. This did not work, as all of the legalistic requirements to undertake fundraising in Michigan and neighboring states were not met. During the process of trying to get a capital campaign underway, members of the board met with officials from FIS and USSA Nordic. From these meetings emerged a proposal to enhance the facility at Copper Peak to accommodate ski jumping during the summer season, as well as winter competitions. The scope of this project was greatly increased, and thus the board had to reassess the potential to raise the necessary funding. The board decided that the best chance to raise the necessary funding could best come through the state of Michigan through the legislative process. That meant meeting with lawmakers and the governor to build the case for support of the Copper Peak project. Governor Rick Snyder made the trek to Ironwood and Copper Peak and experienced the adventure ride, the chairlift, and elevator ride to the top of the world's largest ski jump tower. The governor was greatly impressed and awed by the experience. While efforts were being made to build the case for the funding of the Copper Peak project with the Michigan legislature, the board hired the engineering needed to construct the landing slope to accommodate summer ski jumping. The funding for the engineering costs came from the adventure ride, whose annual ridership increased from 7,000 to 14,000 over the fundraising period. The engineering provided the estimated cost for the landing slope project. During the 2018 legislative session, the Michigan legislature approved $10 million supposedly for the Copper Peak project. However, the appropriated money ended up with the Great Lakes Sports Commission. Copper Peak, in cooperation with State Senator Tom Casperson and Governor Snyder, were the driving force behind the grant. The Great Lakes Sports Commission issued guidelines for this grant process, setting a maximum of $150,000 per applicant. Copper Peak Incorporated did apply for and received a grant of $150,000 to replace the chairlift and tower decking. Obviously, this was inadequate to fund the major upgrade at Copper Peak. Back to the drawing board, so to speak. The board would continue its efforts to fund the project. With the onset of COVID in 2019, the federal government authorized payments of mega millions of dollars to the states to help support those businesses that were struggling to stay afloat after many were greatly affected by the ravages of the virus. The state of Michigan ended up with a sizable amount of money from the feds. In 2022, the Michigan legislature awarded Copper Peak Incorporated $20 million. It was thought that the award would be adequate to construct the landing slope as well as complete the work on the tower in order to ski jump during the summer season. When the two bids for the landing slope came in, one was 2 times and the other was 2.5 times the engineering estimates for the landing slope. There would not be enough funding to complete the project. Inflation had a profound effect on the construction and engineering costs. As of this date, the corporation is working with the engineers to find ways to cut costs on the numerous projects needed to be completed to ski jump at Copper Peak. And on that hopeful note, we've run out of time for this episode of The Eagle's Nest. This is your narrator, Dan McManman, saying thank you for listening to these episodes of The Eagle's Nest. I hope you've enjoyed them. I sure have, and it's been very educational for me to do these episodes and go back in time and bring back memories of all those great people that settled in this area and got the sport of ski jumping and skiing in general to be so popular. Remember that every episode, 30 of them or so, are on YouTube, so you can go back and just look for that goofy eagle on the top of the scaffold, and that's how you can tell you're at our episodes. And they're all numbered and they're sequential, and you can go back anytime in and out and listen to an episode or tell somebody else about it who might be interested. There are several ways to see and hear us. If you have a smart TV or a smartphone or tablet, you can download the YouTube app and use the 4 search terms, Copper Peak Eagle's Nest. Our Copper Peak episodes are there all the time, and the episodes are labeled consecutively and will run sequentially. In other words, when you finish one episode, the next episode will play. Also, you can see and hear episodes on your phone or browser at the following URL: www.youtube.com/@CopperPeak784. All the episodes are labeled. Don't forget to like and subscribe us. It's free, and it won't cost you anything, and it helps us. And as you may know, Copper Peak has a live streaming site with live webcams at our Copper Peak Hill site that you can access by going directly to the live cam at www.twitch.tv/copper_peak. Eagle's Nest episodes play on or near the half hour. The live cam features views of the Copper Peak facility as well as a view of the surrounding terrain and Lake Superior from atop the Copper Peak Tower, plus news and homemade entertainment and historical narratives by Charlie Supercynski, the author of Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak story on which this narrative is based. We're also on Copper Peak Radio on 102.1 FM at 6:08 a.m. and p.m. and 11:08 a.m. and p.m. Central Time. Copper Peak Radio is a low-power FM station, so you need to be within a few miles from Copper Peak to hear it. Charlie's book is available at the Depot Historical Society Museum and Chamber of Commerce office in Ironwood, and also at the Downtown Art Place in Ironwood. Once again, thanks for joining us here at the Eagle's Nest. See you the next time, and think Copper Peak. Bye now.